Just click enjoy things I'm going to later. Okay.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Greg Kampe Show. We are live at RJ's Club in Rochester Hills. He is Coach Greg Kampe. My name is Neil Rolo, voice of the Golden Grizzlies. Happy to have you all with us tonight. Remember, you can get involved on the show. Go to Twitter with the hashtag AskKampe. Get your questions in there. Those are starting to trickle in. Coach, how are you?
It's a tough weekend. Usually when you go to Wisconsin, you come home with a split, you're pretty happy. But not this year. We had an opportunity to win both games. We defended extremely well. The opening night at Green Bay, when we substituted late in the game, the guys that were on the floor didn't have a very good showing. We gave up, I think, 14 points in 2 minutes. Otherwise, the team we were playing, Green Bay would have only been in 34, 35 points, which was pretty amazing defense for the game. And I know they're struggling as a team, but still, you hold a Division I basketball team to 34 points with 2 minutes to go in the game. You've guarded. And then we parlayed that into Saturday, where we came out and we probably had our best offensive half of the year. In the first half, had put 50 points on the board on the road. It was pretty amazing. Had a 10-point lead, got it to 12 in the second half. Then we couldn't hold on. The last 5 minutes of the game, Keaton made a 3 to put us up 4 with 4 minutes and 40 seconds, I think, to go in the game, and we didn't score again. And although we guarded extremely well, we only gave up 4 points in that time. We had multiple shot opportunities. We probably had more offensive rebounds in the last 4 minutes of that game than we have, half all year. We got time after time. We got open looks. We shot 4 air balls. Missed a point-blank layup with a minute to go in the game that obviously would have been the game winner if it went in. And just missed it. But we handled it. We kept battling. We kept fighting. Got into the overtime, scored first, and then we made a mental mistake. They got the tip. We got to stop. The ball hit us and went out of bounds. They got another stop. Came down, scored to take the lead, and then they went down and the guy supposed to be at the high post forgot he's supposed to be in that spot of the zone. They threw it in there and they caught it, laid it in, and Trey couldn't guard it because he had 4 fouls. And didn't know he wouldn't score again, even though they only scored 1 more basket that was enough to win. So it was a really disappointing loss for us because Milwaukee, obviously, they're tied for first. It would have that win, we would have been sitting here today after what happened Sunday in the league thinking, we can still win the championship. And now we're trying to figure out how we're going to get in the top 4. So it was a really frustrating, disappointing loss, especially when you play as good as we played. We played a good basketball game against a good team, and we couldn't win.
Yeah, especially too, it's just a shame to see that first half go away. What we did offensively in terms of shooting the basketball, 7 of 10 from behind the 3-point line in the first half. That is really what stings about it too. When you talk about playing well and you don't cash in, because it's hard to play well on the road. It's really hard to play well on the road at the league leader, team in second place in the league. It's hard to do that.
Well, we played extremely well at Youngstown and at Milwaukee, and they're tied for first. And we lost both games, and that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
If we played that well, and they were both good enough on the road to find a way to beat us. Unfortunately, I hope we're in a position that we don't play either one of them on the road in the conference tournament, that if we get either one of them next time, it'll be at a neutral site. And if we can play that well at a neutral site, we should be able to win that game. And again, we shot the ball. We don't shoot it real well, and when we have nights that we do make it, you want to cash in on it, and we didn't.
Greg Hesson back in our 1270 The Bet studios, and the Greg Kampe Show is brought to you by Henry Ford Sports Medicine, the official team physicians for Oakland University and you. For more info, visit henryford.com/athletes. In camp, only 4 games left, 4 home games left, and that's it. And that's the wild thing about the college basketball season. It feels like a grind, and then all of a sudden it's almost over. It's like it happens overnight.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the other thing on this year that's weird is the weather. Usually February 13th, it's, the coldest of the year. And I was out in shorts yesterday walking. It's crazy because usually when the weather gets like this, we're accustomed to, okay, this is tournament time, it's March, the weather's changing, and, we're still a couple weeks away from that. And so the realization that, Jalen's going, I told him, today we've got 5 home games left, the 4 that you're going to play for the regular season, and we're going, as long as we win Wednesday, we should be in a position to, even if we don't get the bye, we'll get a home game in the first round, and then we'll go to, a 1, 2, 3, 4 seed. So they've got 5 home games left. This is all you have left. He and Keaton, this is it. So you got to make the most of this next 2 weeks.
No question about that as well. And guys are starting to feel it. What's that?
Were you
No, I was listening.
No,
there's no question about it, Camp. It's the end.
all the people on there driving their cars were probably wondering if something happened to their radio. Because I kind of got a dead pause that you were expecting my mouth to keep going.
Did you say something? You're done talking?
Yes.
Oh, no.
I know I don't cut it off that fast usually.
No, I was just playing around with some of the audio stuff. But you are exactly right. It is incredible, man. Like when we landed back from Milwaukee, I was thinking about that when we were landed. So it's 4 home weeks left, and that's it. So I mean, it's go time. UPY Wednesday, Detroit Mercy. The Metro Series continues on Friday as well. Love to see everybody out there. Huge game that'll be presented by the Detroit Sports Commission. So obviously we want to see everybody out there for the rest of the season, no question about that, but certainly want to see everybody out there on Friday as well. And we'll take a look ahead to those games coming up in the last segment of the show. Women's basketball coach Jeff Tungate will join us here as well in the second segment of the show, excuse me.
Second hour,
yeah. Well, Jeff Tungate's here in an expanded show.
Second hour. Before we go to break, though,
yes.
Is there anybody in here that would be interested in a free drink with vodka? If you are, I'm purchasing because we've got a vodka that they're trying out here called 8 Mile Vodka. All right? Anybody else? Okay. We'll get Russ in here or either one of them. A new vodka called 8 Mile Vodka. I don't know if it's really new, but it's new to me because some people I know are the ones that are trying to get it out in the real world. And I told them that I would go on my show. And because we are the most listened to show on this station
at this
time, and because this place is normally full with people that I said to them, I don't think there's a lot of vodka drinkers in this room, but if there are, we'll get them. So we're going to try that. So whoever wants one, set it up for them.
Yeah.
And the dude's buying.
Okay.
Tungate, you can't though because you're coming on the air. You're working right now.
Oh man, where are we going to go from there? That is the question.
Well, I thought we were going to commercial.
No, we still got a few minutes left. We still got a few minutes left in this segment. No, I did want to ask this though, Camp. I mean, just from your chair, if you knew the answer to this, because I was talking about it with Jeff Tungate a few minutes before we went on air. The swing in a game where you are 7 for 10 from 3, and then I think we were 3 of 18 in the second half, and over 3 of 15 it was. Sorry. The swings in the game. I mean, how? And we see it all the time, right? Like you can almost bank on it.
Yeah, I think that what happens, and I'm a fan too. I have teams that I really want to win, not as bad as I want Oakland to win, but I think what we do is we just get focused on our team, our fandom, how can this happen? It happens every day. How do you think Cleveland State felt last Saturday at our place? How do you think Michigan fans felt at the end of their game, Purdue yesterday? It happens daily in college basketball. The swing of a game, and we knew going into Milwaukee, one of our big scouting report points was they play in spurts. And I gave them the example of they had Detroit by 19 at halftime 2 nights before we played them. Detroit actually came back and took the lead. A week ago, they were at Northern Kentucky. They were down 20 at halftime. They won the game at Northern Kentucky by 2. They're a team that competes in spurts, and a lot of it is their press. Now, against us, the press doesn't hurt because I got Jalen Moore.
Right.
At no point in that game did their press hurt us, and at no point in that game did they press the way they pressed. At no point did they come hard with a hard double team on the inbounds pass because they knew that Jalen could beat it and we would get up and score. So usually their swings are because of pressing. And their swing against us really wasn't a swing. They consistently pretty much played offense the same. They had a little spurt at the end of the half, which I thought was critical. That their best player got away from us in transition and made a three, and we had shut him down. But their spurts were because of our poor offense. We played offense way better than we're probably capable in the first half, and we played offense in the second half way worse than we're probably capable. And that's more than anything is what cost the they're getting shots of it. Man, you're a lot hardcore than I thought. I was thinking you'd put it with, rum or Coke.
I think you undersold our audience.
Yeah, I see everybody's head going back right now. Don't you drink vodka with, I'm not a drinker, I'm sorry, so I don't know, but people at my place, I usually have. From now on, I'm going to have 8 Mile instead of Tito's. But I have 8 Mile vodka and, like soda, and Coke and Verner's and things like that. Isn't that how you normally drink this?
Not this crowd. Yeah, these guys are built different. Yeah. The Greg Canby show. We're a show of the
I'm
people.
learning things tonight, man.
We're a show of the people. Now I had a great question, and now I forgot what it was. I guess it wasn't going to be that great. But no, we're talking about.
We're talking about runs.
Yeah, we're talking about runs and the dynamic of runs and things like that. And Camp, the second, going into the second half, right at the end of the first half, it seems as though that's been kind of a theme this year for us, where we've had some issues with that from time to time.
We've had some really bad end of halves and starts the second half. The Michigan State game was. I mean, we're playing. We got a chance to win at Michigan State, and then they scored 38 points outside the last 2 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes. Outside those 6 minutes, and they scored 38 points in the game.
Right. In
the Breslin. And so we've talked about it, and we talked about it with our team Saturday in Milwaukee, and they didn't really. I mean, the first media timeout, they won by 1. The second media timeout was a tie. It was from the 7-minute mark down to about the 4-minute mark is where they cut. It was 71-62, and I think they got it to 72-70. And that one Keaton hit, 72-71 when Keaton hit the 3 to put us on 4. So it was a slow erosion. It wasn't a run by them. One spot they really hurt us when they did make the comeback was where we get beat look at every game we lose and we can see that beat on the glass. We did a wonderful job of rebounding, and then it just broke down for about a 5-minute period. And that could be because we got a little tired. I'm not really buying that, but if you got to analyze every piece of it, and maybe we were a little tired, maybe we didn't, have the juice to rebound. I don't know. I don't buy that because we had the juice to defend. So if we're defending as hard as we were defending, how can you not rebound too? But maybe the ball just bounced their way.
There is something to that, Camp, because I even brought it up during the broadcast at one time because I had mentioned the fact that in the rebounding war, we were winning the rebounding war, and I remember in particular they got an offensive rebound of a 3-point shot that grazed the rim that went to the only spot that one of their players had occupied. That was it. We had 3 other guys around the rim. If it goes anywhere else.
And Blake was checking him out, but because it was an air ball, it didn't hit the rim and bounce. Right. So Blake had him sealed, but it went right to him and he laid it in. And that was a key basket because it cut it from 6 to 4.
Yeah, and that's not an effort thing. That's not a technique thing. You can't cover every square inch of the court when you're going to rebound the basketball. Luck does play a factor from time to time.
It's crazy too how often an air ball is offensive rebounding. I mean, we shot 4 of them down the stretch and we rebounded 3 of the 4. It's crazy how often you get a team to shoot a bad shot, shoot an air ball, but your technique and your fundamentals of rebounding and checking out don't play in the air balls because you're not expecting it.
Right. I have a quick question for you, Cam. I talk about this a lot during the broadcast too because it happened in the Milwaukee game. The possession arrow. Where do you stand on the possession arrow? Because I I don't like the fact that sometimes you get penalized for good defense, i.e. they get to rebound the basketball from underneath the basket. In essence, you're penalized for good defense there because that's a more advantageous spot to be in if you go by the percentages. Why don't we jump it up in college?
You know, that came in a while ago now, and it was basically referees do not like the jump ball. And honestly, if you really analyze and watch the jump ball, they're terrible.
If you struggle.
I mean, it is. I even joked, it was a couple games ago, I even joked to one of the officials after it was thrown up. The guy that came by, I go, geez, he almost did that right. And he just smiled at me. You know, they're just so bad at it. And that's why the overtime thing is, you know, you're hoping that they're bad at it for you at that particular time. If I had Keith Benson, you know, every year, I would want to be able to have a jump ball for everything because we would always get it.
Right.
You know, but it's more frustrating watching the bad tosses than if it happened at a key critical time. At least you can coach the arrow. You can, you know, you can, like when we get into the last 8 minutes of games, I have a person who's assigned to come in the timeout and look at the team and say, we have this many timeouts. And since I never use any, we have most of them.
Right.
We have this many timeouts left and the arrow's ours. Or we have this many timeouts left and the arrow's there. So they know, you know, and Keaton at Robert Morris, ball was on the ground and the guy was trying to tie it up with him and he called timeout. Maybe 7 minutes to go in the game. And he got up and he came over the bench and he thought I was going to scream and yell at him because the possession arrow was ours and he called the time. He panicked and forgot that the possession arrow was ours and he should have just let that go so we have the timeout. So we try and make them aware of it. We try and coach it. I think everybody probably does. We're not special by doing that, but it's, you know, it's something that I think is the best way to do it right now. Just because, just watch the beginning games, watch the tosses. I mean, they're horrendous. You know? And some officials have gotten hurt because those guys are so big, they come down with their elbow, hit them right in the face and things like that. So I think that's really the reason. The interesting thing will be if the men ever change the rule that the women have, that on a timeout, you can move the ball to the front court at the end of the game. You know, that's the one rule I'm waiting to see if they're going to take from the women's game and move it to the men's game.
Well, speaking of the women's game, we'll be joined.
How about that for a segue?
Hey, thanks, Ken. Thanks for helping me out there.
Yeah, well, you need it, buddy.
I know, absolutely. When we come back, I'll be joined by Jeff Tungate, the head women's coach here at Oakland University. Don't forget Ask Kampe as well. Get those tweets in with the hashtag Ask Kampe. We'll get to those coming up in the third segment. We'll be right back with more. The Greg Kampe Show live from Rochester Park, Rochester. When we come back, I got a little commercial I gotta do, and then we'll get into it. To RJ's Pub here in Rochester Hills. It is the Greg Kampe Show. We are back in effect. The Greg Kampe Show brought to you in part by the Pino Insurance Agency, LLC of Mimic Insurance. They cater to the educational market. If you're looking for affordable insurance and a knowledgeable insurance agency, go online to pinoinsurance.com today, P-I-N-O insurance.com today. Right now, as promised, we're joined by the head coach of the women's basketball team here at Oakland. He is Jeff Tungate. Jeff, appreciate you taking some time and coming through. Welcome.
Thanks, Neil. Appreciate having me. All I know is this: in the last 3 weeks we've had, there's nobody in this room that needs that 8-mile vodka more than me.
I was looking low key to see if your hand was up over there on the side.
I told Coach Holm I couldn't do it, so
yeah,
I have to listen.
You have to listen to what Coach says. And we're going to get into your season and everything like that, and what you guys have going on right now. But I want to ask you, because it's a great segue, as Coach Kampe talked about. He mentioned the rule changes that came about a few years ago with the women's basketball game. You guys are more in that NBA model. You have the 4 quarters. You have the ability to advance the ball after timeouts and those kinds of things. Now, a lot of people in this room know, I'm sure, you came from the Oakland men's program as well, had a lot of success. You were a part of that, those NCAA tournament runs and everything like that. So you've seen both sides of it. What's your impression of the women's basketball model right now and how the rules are?
Yeah, I really like it. I mean, I think the advancing the ball is a great thing, and I'd love it to go to the men's game. I mean, obviously, Coach is phenomenal at sets and after timeouts, and I think it's something that the men's program at Oakland would really benefit from, because he's so good at timeout situations and advancing the ball, and so I love that part of it. The quarters, either way is fine with me with the quarters. I mean, whether it's a half or a quarter, doesn't matter. But I really like the advancing the ball in the last minute. I think that really changes the game and gives you a chance to put the ball in the hands of your best player and be able to run something down the stretch and give the best player on the team a chance to win the game.
What about the bonus rule with the 5 fouls per quarter and things like that?
I hate that.
Okay.
I can't stand that rule, because everything in life now is to take pressure away from people. And so instead of a one-on-one, putting pressure on them, no matter what, you're going to get 2 shots. And I just don't like that. I think there's something about the pressure of sports and the pressure of having to step up and make the front end of a one-on-one that I think, I'm not going to go on a whole soapbox on this, but I think as society, we're taking away all the pressure from kids. And when they get in the real world, they don't know how to handle pressure. And so I hate the bonus after 5 foul. I don't like that at all. I'd love to get back to the one-on-one and have to step up and make plays under pressure.
And I'm with you on that, because you use that as a tool. If you're behind, you can use that as a tool to get back in the basketball game. I thought that was something that I was surprised to see it go away.
Heaven forbid we hurt someone's feelings where they might miss a free throw, and instead of getting in the gym and working on it more. So, I'm not a big fan of it. Bring back the one-on-one, and if you're going to foul someone, they're going to miss it. Well, you hope that they get in the gym more and learn how to make it.
No, that is true. So Jeff, your team this season, as far as Horizon League play goes, Green Bay looks like they've reestablished at least the order in their mind. I would think, as far as what they are, they're 14-2 in the Horizon League. Cleveland State at 13-2. You guys kind of there in the middle of the pack right now. Bring everybody up to date this year.
Yeah, I was really pleased. I'm still pleased with our team. I really like this group. We only lose one player off this team, Cal Fair-Bernard. She's a graduate transfer that plays some point guard, 2 guard for us. But, the last 3 weeks, we've really struggled all year with shooting the basketball. That's been a real problem for us, and it's just kind of spiraled from there. When you see the game against Robert Morris and you see the score against a team that on paper, we should beat, and to get beat that bad by Robert Morris, you'd think that if the team quit, stopped playing. There's not 1 second that game we quit playing. We were playing hard. We were pressing down the stretch, trying to win the game, and those kids were battling, diving on the floor, doing all the little things it takes, but we could not make a shot. And once it gets in your head, then, it shouldn't affect your defense, but it does. You'd like to say that if you're not making shots, still get back and defend, and that's easy to say, but harder to do. So I think a lot of times when we start missing those shots, then it affects our defense. And, we had a possession, we had 3 offensive rebounds, missed all 3 putbacks, missed the 4th one, got fouled, missed 2 free throws. We had a back cut for a layup, we fumbled out of bounds. We had a reversal, we threw a great pass to the first row in the stands. I mean, stuff that, the examples I gave were done by our 3 best players. And so I think that the harder we try, sometimes the worse it gets. And I think this group wants to win so bad, they compete so hard that right now we're in our heads. And I think we have to get out of our heads a little bit to get back on track. And I gave him 3 days off. I don't play again until Saturday. And this time of year, that's probably not something I would do. But we gave him 3 days off at final exams, went on a winning streak. Gave him 3 days at Christmas time. Got back after the Milwaukee Green Bay trip, went on a winning streak. And so I think, these 3 days a chance just to regroup, refresh, and get back on track again going into the home stretch. And I love this team. This is one of my most favorite teams I've ever coached. They listen, they play hard, they do all the things. They're fun to go to practice, fun to take on the road. The 12 players we have on the roster have a combined 3.16 GPA. So it's a really good group, and I feel for them because I know how bad they want to win, and you want it so bad for them that sometimes the harder I try, the worse it gets. And so we just got to get a break. We'll get back to practice on Wednesday, tweak some things that we're doing, and hopefully get back on winning ways.
And that's got to be frustrating too, Jeff, because you and I have talked before, and you kind of model offensively what you do. From what camp does, if you want to go and you want points to be put on the board and everything like that, and, when you're predicated on that, it makes you struggle all that much more, like you talked about.
Yeah, and for us with our team, we have to play fast with this team just to give ourselves a chance to score. And sometimes that puts our defense at a disadvantage because we are trying to play so fast. And we'll run really good offense. And I was telling you this earlier, but I have a lot of coaches that watch our games, and they'll watch like our Milwaukee games. That, boy, we love what you do on offense. We want to steal some of that. We love the plays you run and everything else. And then people watch our Green Bay game and say, what are you doing on offense? Well, it's the same offense. It's just the ball's going in against Milwaukee, it's not against Green Bay. Same shots, same offense, same everything. It's just we're really consistent in our shooting. And, but we have to play fast. That's just the way we've always done that. I think it's a more fun style to play. It's an easier style to recruit too. I think it's a more fun style to watch. But with this team, we have to play fast to be able to get to the rim and try to get some open looks and some easy shots.
Jeff, I mentioned the fact that you came from the men's side and then stepped over to coach the women's team as well. And I've always been curious about this. You and I have talked about this in the past. The transition that you had to make in that it is a different. The styles are the same, but different rules. There's different things that are going on as well. What were some of the challenges of that?
Well, I think that it's basketball's basketball,
right?
But I think in the women's game, relationships are much more important than in the men's game. I think that's a really thing. It took me a while to learn that, but I think it's really important that you work hard, not just building a relationship, coach to player, but building within the team. I think that's a really important part of the game. I think the second thing is in the women's game, there's a lot more. They listen better. And I mean, that's just true. So it allows you to be a little bit more structured, I think, in what you do to some degree too. So that was a big difference as well. But again, I'm learning every day. And, thankfully, I got the right group to deal with.
Yeah, my wife will probably agree with you. With me and my son's in the house versus our daughter, she probably would echo those sentiments, no doubt. Talking to Jeff Tungate here, women's basketball coach for Oakland University. But before we do let you go, Jeff, I did want to touch on this with you as well. As Pete Hovland hangs it up, his last year, if you look at Pete, you look at Greg, and you look at Paul Rice, and you look at Aaron Pogue, who's getting up there in years. You've been around Oakland now for a very, very long time. How special this group of coaches are, because we've talked about this a little more, and Steve Waterfield and I talk about it on the pregame show for the men's basketball games. In a challenging revenue generation environment, I think that's fair to say. Oakland, I think, has punched above its weight class very, very often, and I think the big reason for that is the coaches that are here. I mean, they're the ones that lead the program, and they have to find a way, without maybe not having every other advantage. 20 years from now, when people look back at Oakland sports, are we gonna recognize what a special time this was just in the coaching circles? I mean, again, just going through the roster of coaches that we've had here, there's been some great ones.
Yeah, I mean, I've been here 17 years now in Oakland. Graduated from Oakland, so 21 of my 53 years have been spent in Oakland. I always hear people talk about at other schools hiring consultants to do this. We've got them right here. I mean, if you want to talk to somebody about success, well, coach, Paul Rice, Pete Hufflin. I mean, you're not going to find any more. We don't need to go outside. We've got it right here. You want to talk about recruiting? We can go talk to them about recruiting. You want to talk about alumni, developing alumni base? They're all right there. And so I think we're very fortunate to have resources that other people have to pay for. We've got them right there because, again, times are tough, budget is tough, and times are really tough and budget-wise are open right now. And thankfully, for those type of resources, we don't have to go outside. We've got them right in our own building. So, it's a special group. It's a special group of people, and those guys that you mentioned, they all could have went somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they choose to stay at Oakland. And I think that says a lot about their love for Oakland and their love for and passion for Oakland University. And it's the same love I share. And we go to work every day wanting to do what's best for Oakland University.
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments, especially too being on the inside for a long time now. You see, that's the thing that strikes me because that's not like that everywhere.
No.
Where people, Oakland is the thing. They put that first, but not necessarily what's best for you per se. You put Oakland first, then you kind of work backwards from there. Let's go on everywhere.
Well, let me give you an example of that. I mean, we've got, I hear stories in our league about the relationship between the women's coach and the men's coach. And, there's a lot of problems in that where if coach needs something, all he has to do is call me. If I need something, all I got to do is call him. And there's times that he'll adjust practice for us, we'll adjust it for him. And I think that's the thing that makes Oakland unique is that every coach is willing to work together. And it's not about just their program. It's bigger than that. And I think that's what separates. I think a lot of schools are so focused on their program that they forget everything else that's going on. I think the thing that makes Oakland very special is people truly care about every program and will do whatever it takes to help those programs succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jeff, I certainly do appreciate the time. I know you're passionate about the 288 burger here.
I am.
My
orders are already in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Already in,
So I'll let you go get to that. Jeff, thanks, my friend.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate it. So it's Jim Tungate, everybody, the women's coach here at Oakland. We'll take a break. And it's Ask Kampe time on Twitter. Speak now. Forever hold your peace. Kampe, my name is Neil. We're happy to have you with us. And tonight's Greg Kampe Show is brought to you in part by farmer-owned Prairie Farms, dedicated farmers, happy cows, real milk, drink local with Prairie Farms. That's Kampe's favorite read of the show. Happy cows, right, Kampe?
Happy cows.
Happy cows, man. He's all about it. Mike Zaretti's in the crowd too. Big thank you to Mike Zaretti today. Like all these commercials and everything that go so smoothly that I get all the credit for. he hands it over to me. I just take the credit for it. So it's a perfect setup for me. It's just the way that I like it. It is time for Ask Kampe on Twitter. So get those questions in there. And before we get to all those, I have to ask you, what was your takeaway from the Super Bowl last night?
Oh, it was a great game. A great game. I just wish they hadn't called the penalty. I'd like to see Philadelphia have a chance to come back and win it, or tie it, or whatever, or go to overtime. I just, half the time you guys see me go nuts during a game at the end of the game just because when officials overstep, in my opinion. And I know that I listen to talk radio too, and I know there's the people that say if it's a penalty, it has to be called. Well, penalties are
subjective by nature.
Right.
Yeah.
Did he hold long enough? Did he hold with both hands? Did he hold, was it a charge? Was Trey Townsend against Milwaukee, was that a charge or a block? Well, if you watch the video, it was a block. But the guy's got a split-second chance to make a decision. And it's like I told him, why call anything? Why call anything? I mean, if you're not sure, then let it go. Why not? Don't make a call that's going to win or lose a game. And you see that in basketball a lot. You see referees swallow their whistle, with 7 seconds to go. And there's, play with Duke and Virginia. They swallowed their whistle. They didn't call it. They had a reason not to, but that was a foul, so call it. If it's questionable, let it go. Let the kids decide. That, first of all, and I know it was holding and not pass interference, but it wouldn't have mattered if he held him or not. There wasn't a chance that he could catch that.
Right. That was my point. It landed in the corner of the end zone.
Right. There was not a chance that he was going to catch that ball. So why would you literally end the game by throwing the flag? Now, if it was egregious, got to call it. But so I was disappointed in that. But that's just the reality of the games are refereed by humans, and humans make mistakes. Players make mistakes, coaches make mistakes, referees make mistakes. And there are very few referees that I don't have a good relationship with, and you would probably doubt that when you watch what's going on. But I can't tell you the amount of referees that have contacted me about my mother. I can't tell you the amount of referees that reach out, because you treat each other with respect. Now, it doesn't look like I'm treating them with respect at times, and there's times they're not treating me that way, but that's just the game. But when it's all said and done, it's like I said to the referee that made that call. I said, you're going to go back and look at that. You're going to be wrong, because it has an effect on the game. You just gave Trey Townsend his third foul or whatever it was, and he's one of the best players out there. Now, Joe Average is going to sit there and say, wow, it shouldn't be like that. Rules are the rules. But yeah, if you run a red light, that you broke a rule, right? But did you really run a red light when it was green when you entered and all of a sudden it was yellow? Those types of rules, can be adjudicated differently. If you're going 85 miles an hour in a 70 mile, that's a violation, right? And there's nothing you're not going to get out of that, or you shouldn't get out of that, right? So I don't know if that's answers your question or not, but it was a great football game. Could have been one of the better ones ever.
Yeah, and this happens too in basketball, real quick to wrap this up, though, Camp, where we talked about, because you're the only other person really that I've heard bring that up, because that was my main point. That ball landed in the corner of the end zone. He was never getting there to that. So, as you said, and we see this in basketball sometimes where they will wait to see if the shot goes in, they will not call the whistle. You'll see it sometimes. The ball go off the front of the rim, then they blow the whistle. They're waiting to see if that ball went in. If it does, they don't blow it, and we move on. Yeah, absolutely. So, hashtag Ask Kampe on Twitter. This comes.
I got before you get to that.
Yes.
I was looking while Jeff was talking. I was looking at the questions, and I got to the first one, and this is why punctuation and things like that are important. It said, "Ask Kampe what he has to do to get fired," and then I looked at the bottom line. Or no, what does he do to get fired? And then I looked underneath, the next line says, up before a game. What does he need to do to get fired up before a game?
That is true. Oh, yeah.
So I changed my mind, what I was gonna say after I read the first line from when I read the second.
Okay.
Completely different answer.
You know what's funny about that? I actually said that one in. That came from audience member here, Kim, who's here tonight, came up to me and asked me. He said, "Hey, I got a question for you. You know, what does Kampe do to get fired up before a game?"
If you would have put that all in one sentence, it would have been a lot smoother for me.
It is one sentence,
And
man.
emotionally, not on my phone, it wasn't.
Right.
And
I'm looking at it. It's right here, Kim. How it does, Kim? It's even in quotes.
well, I'll show you on my phone. The line is fired, and then up for a game is on the second line.
It's even in quotes. Gary Gilbert from the Oakland School of Journalism would kill me if I didn't have it in the proper context right there. So, well, what do you do to get fired up?
If there's two questions there, I could drink that 8 Mile vodka on air, that would probably get me fired. Up before a game, one of the things is yours reads that way too? Yeah, I mean, swear to God, I look at, I don't really do that. I mean, one of the things that we try and teach is consistency. It's the hallmark of greatness. And we tell our kids, we try and get them, and you'll see that they don't but you should do everything exactly the same before every game. You come up with a routine. It's like a free throw. You come up with a routine, stay within that routine, and that'll keep you from being overly pumped up on, not ready to play. You've got to be consistent. And so, for me, do I give a better pregame talk sometimes? Yeah. Am I more emotional in pregame talk sometimes? Yeah. Does it really ever help? I don't know. I really don't know if what I say before a game, fire them up, coach, go in there and fire them up. I really don't know if I can do that or not. I can fire myself up. I can get red in the face, and it works against Detroit because I'm probably a little different before the Detroit game than I am any other game. But I try and take a read on the room and see how they are and, what I say to them before the game. And then again, we're going to play 34 or 5 games, I hope. You've got to have different messages and different approaches for every one of those games. It's my job to keep them going like this and not like this. And it's a very hard job.
You only go to the well so many times.
Right, and because I'm like this, my personality is like this. I wear my emotions on a sleeve. We're getting ready to play Cleveland State, and one of their players, when we were playing at Cleveland State, was yelling stuff to me like I've never seen a player. I mean, I guess if you can boo the president in the State of the Union message, in complete lack of disrespect for authority, I guess on a basketball court you can look at another coach and say some stuff to me. So before we played Cleveland State, I was pretty fired up because the disrespect that was shown towards us, and so I let that emotion come out of me, and I don't know if that's a hindrance or not.
More questions here from #AskKampe. Matt, at Horizon Matt says, Ask Kampe, a lot of Oakland fans are concerned with the 7-person rotation, especially after seeing that you're willing to go only 6 people in a game if someone isn't available. Any chance we see a little depth or have players show how they're going to play and now we're here?
A lot of fans? What does that mean?
I don't know. I'm just
Do
reading.
you guys feel that way?
No,
No, speak up.
no.
I mean, my job's to win. So we played 6 guys the other night because Rocket couldn't play. And because I went about that game as if it was a tournament game, because it was a must win. If we win that game, we can still win the league championship. If we win that game, we can still finish more easily into the top 4. And, we're playing a team that's now tied for first place on the road. And I went about it to win the game. And, I heard a bunch of stuff about, well, we only played 6 guys, that's why we lost. And I couldn't figure out what that meant. Well, they got tired, that's why they couldn't make shots. Well, we were only tired on offense because defensively, we played the last 5 minutes of the game in the overtime with unbelievable energy and enthusiasm. Osei Price made an unbelievable defensive play when their good player, number 10,
Free.
Freeman, drove the lane and we doubled him. And Jose faked it this guy and went to this guy, and Freeman threw it right to him. We had tremendous energy defensively. We just couldn't make a shot. So if you're a fan and you're mad and you don't understand why couldn't they make a shot? Well, they played too many minutes. They were tired. And you have the right to believe that. I don't believe that. I don't think they were tired. I used the timeout, the first timeout of the second half, with 4.5 minutes to go in the game, and so 20 seconds later there was a media timeout. So they had 6 minutes to sit there and rest, before we went into the last 3 minutes of the game and the overtime. And 6 minutes is a long time. So I didn't feel that we were tired. I didn't feel that we missed shots because we missed them. And it's like we were talking earlier here. Purdue didn't score the last. Well, let's go back to Milwaukee. Milwaukee scored 4 points in the last 4.5 minutes of the game. Last 5 minutes of the game, they scored 4 points. In the overtime, they scored 5 points. That's all they scored. 9 points in 10 minutes. So if you were to take that for a game, 9 points in 10 minutes would be 36 points for the game. That's not good, right? So was Milwaukee tired? And Milwaukee plays 10 guys. So you can't, from the guy when you're in charge, and you've got to look at the analytics in that, you can't put your fandom into it. There's a reason that we didn't make shots. And you've got to come up with what the real reason is, not with, they were tired. And 35 games is a long time. Jalen Moore, this season we've played less minutes. Trey Townsend's played less minutes this year than he did last year. Jalen Moore's played less minutes this year than he did last year. We played a deeper roster, but we've been nicked and cut up all year long. Different guys have had a chance. It's time to win now, and I'm going to play the guys that deserve to be in there. If you look at the last 3 minutes of the Green Bay game, there were some guys that didn't perform. And I'm not going to put them out there in a game like that when we had a 10 or 12 point lead. I take Jalen off the floor, and that 12 point lead goes to 6 or 4 against a team like Milwaukee, because they will press us then. And then everybody's, well, why the hell did you do that? Why did you take it's a result-oriented business. We lost. My fault. Okay. I'll figure out how to fix that. And you can be mad at me.
Let's knock these down here real quick before we cut to the break. Pittsburgh Marty says, if you come down the stretch of the season with the last 4 games at home, what do your practices and game prep look like for the rest of the year? What becomes the focus of practice preparation, and how does that change from earlier in the year?
Well, because we suck and we play 2 minutes, we're not going to do much of practice. Is that the answer all those people want to do?
We don't want them to be tired, right?
We don't want them to be tired, so why practice, right? In all honesty, though, we cut at this time of the year. Our practice today, and Trey got hurt at the end of the Milwaukee game, and he came to practice. If he thought he was going to be okay, he woke up the next day and he can't move his foot. So, he had X-rays and everything. Obviously, nobody's called me and said anything was broken, so I got to believe everything's good because they only tell me the bad stuff, right? So he stood and watched practice today, shot and stood and watched. Lampman can't do a lot of the drills because we're worried about the knee. So, we've got a skeleton crew out there. So we got there. We spent the first 15 minutes looking at the personnel for IUPUI. We looked at video of every one of their players, what their strengths, what their weaknesses are, refreshing their memory on the scouting report. We shot for 10 minutes. We did a transition drill. We did a rebounding drill, which each one of those lasted less than 5 minutes. And then we did a drill called ODO, which is we played offense, played possession of defense, played possession offense. And that was just to get some running in. And then we put 2 minutes on the clock and we did a transition 2-minute shooting drill, and that was it. We were done in 45 minutes. And we'll come back tomorrow. We'll do something very similar to that, other than instead of the offense and defense, we'll play, 10 minutes of guarding what IUPUI did to our zone the first time we played them, and we'll guard all their out of bounds plays. And that'll be it. So we'll do very little game preparation from now on. We've played everybody. It'll be more film. The preparation will be more film. Look at this. This is what they did. Tomorrow before practice, we'll show, we have a film session called Good Bad, and we'll show them 10 bad clips of what we did against them. Really bad. And then we'll show them 10 clips of what we did really good against them. We always end with the good because we want to end with a positive.
All right, we'll take the last break, and then we'll come back. We'll wrap this last question up, and then we'll take a look ahead to this week as we're coming down the stretch of the Horizon League season. We'll be back with more of the Greg Kampe Show. We're live at RJ's Pub in Rochester Hill. You guys are with us out here, also on Twitter as well. Let's wrap up the Ask Kampe segment of the show. This one comes from Craig Hanford. He says, Ask Kampe, do you find that the players outside the top 7 in the rotation are able to find a more effective role when playing mainly with mainly with other starters than when playing with only other bench players?
I'm not quite sure I understand.
Let me try that one again. So the players outside the top 7 in the rotation, do you find that they're more effective when they play with other starters or when they play with the other bench players?
I don't find them effective at all. That's why they're not playing. So if they were effective, no matter who they would be playing with, they would be playing with. Because if you think I just want to play 6 guys, you're wrong. But my job is to win. And their job is to get good enough that they can be in the rotation. And every guy on that team, the only 2 guys that I would say have a complaint that haven't gotten game time would be Chol and Darius Sherman. I think both of them, if I were them, I could come into Kampe's office and say, I never got a chance to prove myself in the game. My answer would be, prove yourself every day in practice. And they would look at me, if I were them, I'd look at the coach and say, I'm better in games than I am in practice. Give me a chance. I wouldn't buy that, but that's what it would say to me. Right? So the answer to that question is every player knows what I expect out of them, what I want from them. And so after the Green Bay game, I have a player who has played a lot of minutes, brings the ball, crosses half court, picks his dribble up, gets trapped and throws it away, and then complains about the player wasn't where he threw it to. Okay, which is the kid. Man, the kid's a great kid. I love every one of those kids. They're great kids. He's frustrated, and that's why I complain, right? So it's not like we just, you sucked, you're never going to play. He was brought in. Jeff Smith brought him in, showed him film, showed, this is, how could you do this? You were taught in third grade, and I know, I panicked, whatever. So there's conversation. There's trying to make them better. That's what we practice every day for. We try and get better. We try and teach. But at some point, at this stage, this is big boy basketball. You've got to step up and play. And if you've played 125 to 200 minutes and you have not, one of the things that there's a plus minus, okay? Every player has a plus minus. When you're on the floor, we know how many points to the plus we are or how many points to the minus we are. And that's the one stat you can't
hide it.
Can't hide that. You can say, well, I'm 1 for 12 from the three because I only get one a game, and it's hard to make the first one, and then you take me out because I couldn't make that shot, and then that's fine. I get that, and there's some truth to that. There is some truth to that. But there's no truth to it. There's no manipulating the plus minus. When you're on the floor, you're minus 72 through 100 minutes. Things aren't going well when you're out there. And my job is to make sure that we're on the plus of that.
All right, Cam, this week, second from last weekend of the season, 4 regular season home games, all left at the Arena Wednesday, IUPUI, a game that when we played down there in Indianapolis, Jalen Moore had to save the day. We got an overtime, got the win there. Detroit Mercy on Friday, and should be a pretty hype crowd at the Arena. That game will be a lot of fun. What are you looking for this week, other than 2 wins?
Well, sitting there watching our game at IUPUI, and then watching it on film afterwards, like preparing for tomorrow or Wednesday, we really played bad. And I didn't, sitting there watching it, I didn't see that. I didn't. We really were bad. We weren't what we're supposed to be. We struggled to make shots. We didn't run good offense, and we got what we deserved. And Jalen saved the day. We found a way to win. And then 2 nights later, we played one of the best halves of basketball we'll play all year at Detroit. So it's amazing how, we played so bad, we're going to stink Monday, right? Now, every game's an entity of itself, and you have to be prepared, and you have to come and play. And if we don't come to play Wednesday, they're going to beat us. I don't care what their record is, who they are. If we don't come to play Wednesday, they'll beat us. Just like Milwaukee lost to Green Bay last Monday.
And then obviously Detroit Mercy and Friday. No, we don't need a lot of words for that one, right?
If we're not ready for that, we got issues. And that's going to be a big game for us. If we can find a way to win Wednesday, a win Friday gives us 11 wins. It guarantees that we'll at least have a home game. It doesn't guarantee us because we could finish 5th. We would either have a home game or a bye on Tuesday night. We'll either have a bye or we'll have a home game if we can win Wednesday and Friday.
So those are the stakes. Final minute of the show. Got anything else, Cam, before we get out of here?
No, I think it's been a fun year. I mean, it's amazing. We play to our competition more than any team I've ever coached. There are no blowouts. There are no, the game at Cleveland State way back when Jalen was hurt, we got beat pretty bad. Every other game we've played, we don't win big and we don't lose big. We find a way at the end. We've played 4 overtime conference games out of 16. That's every 4th game's been overtime. We've won non-overtime games at the buzzer 3 times. So every game, it's got to be nerve-wracking for a fan, but it's got to be fun. It's competitive. And I really enjoy this team. I really enjoy it. Great group of kids. And it's been a fun season.
All right, well, big thank you to Greg Heston back in our 1270 AM, the Vet Studios. Big thank you to all of you as well for coming out to the Greg Kampe Show live from RJ's Pub, Rochester Hills. Well, see you later.